Hello, everybody, and welcome into another Prospect Corner here at the Hockey Writers. I'm your host, Matthew Zator, and as always, joined by Peter Baracchini and Dayton Reimer. Guys, we're deep into the playoffs in the CHL, and the NCAA Frozen Four is in their final as well, coming up this weekend. So lots of high pressure games going on, and of course, the NHL playoffs are just around the corner. Some really young players there, and some are really prominent in the playoffs too. So lots of stuff going on. So Dayton, how's it going?
It is good. Yeah. Snow's melting in Saskatoon. We can actually walk around. So that's nice. And the Blades are in the second round. So that's also nice. Wasn't exactly expected, but they pulled off a really good win. And I enjoyed watching that.
Then you got a bit more coverage on your hands. Hopefully it's a little longer than just the second round too.
That'd be great.
Peter, how's it going?
Doing great. Yeah. Just trying to keep up as much as possible with all the playoffs. And Dayton and I were speaking previously in regards to Miroslav Halenko because the Blades were being forced to game 7 and they won in game 7. So Dayton was a little bit on edge, but you know what? It was hard fought series. Credit to the Blades. They deserve to move on. And this is what the playoffs are all about. Not necessarily upsets, but like game breaking situations, overtime, you name it. This is what it's all about right now.
For sure. And the WHL had a few marathon overtimes as well. So it's always fun playoffs, especially there's so many, like I say, so much high intense pressure games, and you see how these prospects perform in them, and not necessarily they're going to do that in the NHL, but it's a good sign for the future that they can step up in these games. So lots of fun. So we'll talk about a few of those players, and we'll start in the WHL, which is our second round starts. I think it'd be tomorrow or tonight. It's right starting tonight. As we're recording, there's some games going to be going on. So I'll start with you, Dayton, since just talked about the Blades. Who are your standouts from the first round and going into the second round here?
Yeah, the first round was awesome. I tried to pay attention to as many teams as possible. It was a lot more tightly contested than I was expecting. After I think about 3 games, it looked like 5 teams were going to sweep, and only one did, I believe. Yeah, there was 2. My apologies. Everett swept the Portland Winterhawks, and Kelowna swept the Kamloops Blazers. And one of the biggest standouts, I think, right now is Wojtek Chihar. He has scored in every game that the Kelowna Rockets have played. He was named Rookie of the Week. He's got 6 goals and 10 points in 4 games with the Rockets. He's been on fire, playing really well with TJ Ginla. They've connected on a few goals already. But yeah, huge season for the Los Angeles Kings rookie prospect. There we go. Kelowna Rockets rookie. We talked about the series already with Edmonton and Saskatoon. I won't talk about the Oil Kings too much, but the Blades had some pretty good standouts. Evan Gardner was getting shelled every night and was able to keep his team in it. So that's a Columbus Blue Jackets prospect in goal for the Blades. David Lewandowski has also been excellent. He leads the team with 8 points in 7 games, tied with a Calgary Flames prospect, Hunter Lang. Both those guys have been really good, really driving the offense, have used their physicality, their size, their intelligence to really change the game. So that's been good to see.
Yeah, and Lewandowski also kind of broke Edmonton fans' hearts. Or, I mean, Edmonton Oil Kings fans. If you're an Oilers fan, it's you've got one of your prospects doing really well, but taking out if you're a fan of the Edmonton Oil Kings, I guess you could be split depending on who you're. I'm sure you're a fan of both the Oilers and the Oil Kings if you're a fan, but yeah, Lewandowski really good first round for sure. Peter, what about you? I know a Maple Leafs prospect, of course, was involved in that series as well. Unfortunately, not going to the second round. But who stood out for you in the first round?
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't talk about the current leading goal scorer in the WHL right now. Not going to last because the Oil Kings got eliminated, but Miroslav Halenko with 7 goals and 11 points, including a hat trick in Game 4, which ultimately spurred a bit of a comeback for the Oil Kings, really. And I even wrote a piece on him highlighting his performance during that game and even during the playoffs and overall season. And he could be kind of that hidden gem draft pick or, prospect for the Maple Leafs, where they drafted him in the 5th round in 2024. They really liked his IQ and shot, and lo and behold, it was definitely on display during that series. And single-handedly, I think he was the one that basically led the charge for them. He was the one that was basically doing everything, not necessarily everything himself, but he wanted to be an impact player. He wanted to take control and be, that go-to guy. And, you look at other guys like Lucas Sachin as well, had a point per game series as well. But, whenever there was a big time moment that they needed someone to step up, it was Halenka. And that was great to see from a Maple Leaf standpoint, but overall just from a prospect development point of view. And I understand that there were a lot of comments, criticism that, yes, he's a 20-year-old in his 2nd season in a 16, 19-year-old league. I get that. But it just speaks to volumes of his quick development curve and how quick he's adapting. And imagine if he was there maybe another year or two before then. Maybe those numbers would have increased. Maybe it would have been better. So you know what? The fact that, he's 20 years old, he still dominated like he was supposed to. So big shout out to him. Again, Dayton touched on the chemistry that Sihar and TJ Ginla have had, considering that I believe Ginla missed the majority of the season to start. This one, he missed half of it. And again, he still put up like close to 2 points per game in the regular season. Again, it's like Andrew Crystal, like NHL, EA Sports video game numbers, and 10 points in 4 games right now, like in a sweep. So that's really impressive to see him still be that dynamic player, the go-to offensive producer, 2.5 points per game. And to highlight a trio of Everett Silvertip players, Julius Miettinen, 4 goals and 6 points in 4 games. Matthias Vanhanen, the playmaker, based essentially on that team, overager for the draft, 6 points, and Lennon Dupont, 6 points in 4 games. I believe those are some players that I highlighted that I wanted to see, basically take charge heading into the postseason, because Everett was a team to watch, and lo and behold, they were their top players. So big shout out to them. And they were like the trio of those players really stood out and basically carried Everett to the 2nd round.
Yeah, and they were the ones that one of the ones you mentioned that swept their series. So yeah, big parts of that team for sure. Of course, I've got to mention Braden Coots. He was a big part of that first round with Prince Albert, 5-game win over the Red Deer Rebels. And he was pretty prominent in all the games. I believe led the team in scoring throughout the series. So he's looking like he could be an NHL player next season. I showcased really well, of course, in the training camp, made the team, made the Canucks out of training camp, and then got sent back. But he's been one of Prince Albert's leaders since he got traded there, and he's going to be a big part of the 2nd round, I'm sure, as they go up against the Saskatoon Blades. So we'll see how Braden Coots can go and do against the Blades, and maybe continue that dominance for sure. So that series is going to be one I'll be watching as well alongside you there. So that should be
it's going to be crazy.
Yeah. Should be a good series.
They played 8 games against each other over the season. 7 fights throughout.
It's going to be a bloodbath then.
Oh, 100% it is. Listen, these teams hate each other.
Should be a good one.
Yeah.
One more point too. I didn't even mention Carter Bear, who had 6 assists in 4 games as well. So let's make that a quad prospect roundup for the Everett Silvertips right there.
Yeah. I'll quickly mention just a couple more guys here that I want to give a shout out to. Brock Sauch with the Prince George Cougars. He has the 2nd most points, and he is undrafted. 5 goals, 11 points. He was huge for them, beating who did they beat again? Spokane Chiefs. So he could get some NHL draft attention here. Julian Mays for the Calgary Hitmen. He is really fun to watch. I watched him with Regina. And yeah, he knows how to put up points. He's small. So there is somebody who has ranked him in the first round, though. I love the optimism. I think he might have first round talent. I don't know. We'll have to see. And then final guy, he's one of my favorites, Noah Kosick. He's been really good for the Seattle Thunderbirds. Unfortunately, they got eliminated by Penticton V's, who were having a great season. But he was a point per game. He led them. He was kind of their only offensive force. Yeah, and again, up for the draft, should get some draft attention here.
Yeah, so we'll have to. A lot of the series start tonight as we're recording. So there's going to be lots of stuff going on this weekend. Lots of games. So we'll get to see quite a bit, and we'll be able to react to the second round pretty soon as well. All right, moving to the OHL, which they kicked off their second round yesterday as we're recording on Thursday. And lots of some series have already going on. We've got the Barrie Colts already up 1-0 in their series, and the Brantford Bulldogs already up 1-0 in their series. And a few games going on as we're going right now as well. So, Peter, what have you seen in the OHL so far in the first round?
Yeah, maybe a little bit more offense heavy compared to the WHL, but yeah, the offense has been coming in bunches for a lot of players in the OHL playoffs, mainly for the Flint Firebirds. Jacob Battaglia, 15 points in 4 games already. And I know when we did our preview show, Battaglia, I already briefly mentioned how he was already off to a hot start in the postseason. He has been lights out, and looking at that point per game average, 3.75. I mean, don't know if it's sustainable or not, but he has been electric in those 4 games. And Flint just basically demolished the Owen Sound attack, like every single game. Basically more than 5 goals, and 2 of them were in double digits. 11-1 in game 2 and 10-0 in game 3. And obviously, Battaglia has been a big part of that. Cole Baudouin, Barrie Colts, he's off to a fantastic start. 14 points in 6 games already. As you mentioned, Barrie, don't know if Barrie's already started their series yet.
Yeah, they're up.
Yeah, they have. Yes. Okay. Yes, stand corrected. So they are one of the ones that started the series. Recently got named with a lot of accolades in terms of like an OHL poll. So really great to see him take that next step forward and not just be, he's got that physicality and well-rounded side to his game, but to be relied on as a heavily offensive producer, especially in a big moment like this, it's great to see. Would it be doing justice if I did not talk about Caleb Malhotra, who is leading the Brantford Bulldogs in scoring with 7 goals and 12 points, and he is just on fire right now. And I think it's been known that the Vancouver Canucks are there watching Caleb Malhotra right now. So did see that online. Don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but he is getting attention from basically a team that has secured the best odds for first overall. And this is a draft that features, Gavin McKenna and Ivar Stenberg. And, I have Malhotra number 3 on my list. So it's looking like if he has a big time performance and he shoots up the board, could he be first overall? Are we going to have that discussion? Who knows? But lights out playoff performance already from him. And even from the Sioux Greyhounds, Marco Mignosa as well. They moved on. They're facing the Kitchener Rangers, 7th round pick of the Tampa Bay Lightning in 2025. So overager, senior player at this level, 89 points, but also 10 points in 5 games already for the Sioux. So, with the likes of a team that has, Brady Martin, Chase Reed, those kind of guys leading the way offensively, Mignosa has been a really pleasant surprise this year and even in the postseason right now.
Yeah, it's been really good for a lot of these. I mean, Caleb Malhotra, I don't know. I mean, I think if the Canucks drop to third, which everyone seems to think that's what's going to happen, even though they do have the best odds of getting first, that's just how the Canucks go. That they're just going to go down to 3. If they do, I think Malhotra's definitely in consideration there because it's Stenberg and McKenna. I mean, you'd assume they'd be 1, 2, or whatever order. But you never know. I mean, we've seen so many different surprises in the draft in the past where, a team surprises and picks someone that you're not expecting. So you never know what'll happen. But I think Malhotra is definitely on the Canucks radar. I don't know about first overall. I think everyone will be kind of questioning that. Going with him over a guy like McKenna or Stenberg, but like I say, we don't know what's in their heads, what they're thinking, who's the better player, but we'll have to just wait and see. All right, Dayton, what about you for the OHL? Who stood out for you?
One thing I think that stood out was how many sweeps there was in the first round. 5 teams moved on without losing a game, which is huge. I don't know if that's normal in the OHL, but it's not normal in the Dub. There's usually a desperation win that they can kind of claw back and scare the leading team, but nope. Everyone kind of moved on who was expected to. 2 upsets. North Bay taking out Peterborough. Love to see an upset. And maybe the bigger one, Sioux defeating London, the Memorial champions. And I think a lot of that goes to, well, you mentioned McNosa, who's got 10 points. Carter George in net has a 942 save percentage over 5 years. He's not letting in anything. And the final game of that series, shutout. Like, he, in my opinion, hasn't had the greatest international performances when he's wearing the Team Canada jersey. I've been underwhelmed. There's no question that he is a big-time performer in the OHL. He has. That's why he was one of the top prospects for goalies anyways, heading into his draft year, which was 2024. Second round, 57th overall. So, of course, I'm mentioning another Los Angeles Kings prospect, but he's been excellent. And then a trio of Brantford Bulldogs, Marek Vanaker, Adam Yurchek, and Jake O'Brien. They've all got 9 points. They made quick work of the Sudbury Wolves. That's a scary team. I've been trying to follow along with those guys over the season, and they just don't lose. They've been really, really strong, it seems, all season long, and they just keep getting scarier. So I'd be curious to see how they are going to handle North Bay. Already got 1 win. Just, a nice little 8-1 victory.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, not too bad for game 1. This is the second round. Brantford's they're off to a great start in these playoffs, and of course they were really good throughout the season as well. So, I will have to see if they can continue that. They're already, I'm up already 1-0 that series. As we're recording, just happened. Windsor's up 2-1 over the Flint Firebirds. They just scored. It just updated. So 2-1 as we're recording here. So it's lots of stuff already going on. And of course, Brantford is up 1-0 in their game as well in game 2 as it's going on right now. All right, moving to the QMJHL playoffs, and there's some really good draft eligible guys. One in particular that's off to a great start. I'll start with you, Peter. What about the QMJHL?
Yeah, the Q has also been a very entertaining start to their postseason as well. Trying to find the playoff bracket here. Here we go. The way that the playoff bracket is a little weird for the Q. The other 2 leagues actually have a bracket style. This one is just a little bit more, block format. I don't know if that makes sense, but it seems like there was a lot more competitiveness in the Q, where I believe quite a few series went to distance. 3 series went to game 7. Still a couple of sweeps, 4-1 series as well. But yeah, the Moncton Wildcats definitely leading, swept the St. John Sea Dogs. They've been on top, and they've been absolutely entertaining to watch. The Blainville Boisbriand Armada swept their series as well against the Victoriaville Tigre. But yeah, the stats overall, it's really, I'm kind of surprised at who has really stood out too. And I can't believe I didn't mention his name before, but Ivan Ryabkin for the Charlottetown Islanders. He's really put up big numbers for that team this year. He already has 9 points in 6 playoff games, 42 points in 20 games overall during the regular season, but he is elevated his play in the postseason. Maxime Massé, 10 points in 5 games for Chicoutimi. Really popped off this season with 102 points. I know that in 2024, there were question marks surrounding his game, how it wasn't as, big and how he wasn't as productive the season before. Then again, believe he may have been dealt with an injury. Didn't play a whole lot of games. Don't quote me on that, but, great selection for the Anaheim Ducks in the 3rd round as he popped off for 102 this year, and he's leading the league in scoring. I'm a big Bill Zonin fan. He's leading Blainville with 9 points, 1 goal, 8 assists. Would like to see that goal production a little bit more. But as you mentioned, another name, Tommy Blayo for Moncton, leading the charge offensively for the Wildcats. He's really stood out big time. I know this season he was kind of like on everyone's radar towards the end. With his dynamicism, puck movement ability, and ability to lead an attack. And right now he's just doing the exact same thing. He scored his first 2 goals already, and he's already at 9 points. And yeah, I have him as sort of like that early 2nd round territory. I wonder if maybe right now with this postseason, and if he continues to pop off, he could get some 1st round recognition, and he's encroaching or teetering on that territory right now for me right now, because it's hard to not have him higher up if he's going to be this productive. Yeah, there may be some defensive blemishes, but he is so confident on the rush on the attack. So big shout out to Tommy Blayo, as he's going to be possibly another riser coming into the final rankings or down the stretch.
Yeah, as the game is going on right now, he mentioned he's scored his first 2 goals. He's got 3 points in that game already, as they're up 6-1 in their game right now. So yeah, he's been great. Of course, 81 points during the season as well. Broke a few QMJHL records that have been standing for a long time for rookie defensemen. So yeah, he's been great. And I'm in the process of writing his prospect profile. So I kind of want to wait until the playoffs or means that's eliminated, because it seems like he keeps adding to what he is. So I might wait to polish off that once he's done here. All right, Dayton. What about you for the QMJHL playoffs?
I'll mention a few goalies here. First one, he's been just crazy good this season. That's Lucas Beckman with the Chicoutimi Sanguinines. He was traded from the Baie-Comeau Drakkar earlier, kind of a big trade deadline acquisition. He was having a pretty good season, but the Drakkar were absolutely awful. He had a .905 save percentage with just 4 wins, which I don't think I've ever seen before. He was keeping them in games that they shouldn't have been in, and they would still lose. So he goes to Chicoutimi, a much better team, as we can see in the playoffs. They made very quick work of the Halifax Mooseheads, sweeping them. I think there was 3 sweeps in the first round for the QMJHL. 940 save percentage, 13 wins, 1 loss, 4 shutouts, and now in the playoffs, he's undefeated with a 952 save percentage. I didn't think you could get better than what he had before, and it is somehow better. Just a crazy skilled goaltender. He's been awesome, and an Ottawa Senators prospect. So isn't that nice? They finally have somebody in the net that they can rely on. You didn't hear me say that out loud, though. Next, I think Louis Antoine Deneau has been really good. I've been watching him since last season. He was passed over somehow. I didn't think teams would pass over a 6'8" goaltender, but for some reason they did. He was with the Quebec Remparts. Now he's with the Newfoundland Regiment, and he's been great. He's helped them get past the Cape Breton Eagles. He's got a .914 save percentage. There's, of course, issues with a bigger goaltender and their movement, but I thought he was at least worth a later round steal. And I think that stands this year. Someone should grab him. He's been really consistent. And another draft eligible guy who I think has just been excellent in his appearances so far is William Lassell. He was another, all these guys were traded and they've been doing awesome. He's with Blainville Briand Armada. He's got a .908 save percentage over 5 games, helping them get past the Victoriaville Tigers. 4 wins. Yeah, he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, so a bunch of goalies. Of course, you need your goalie to be good in the playoffs as well. You can't just, sometimes you can get by just outscoring your problems, but goaltending is usually a big part of it. So, yeah, 3 goalies that are standing out for sure.
I miss the days of the Quebec goaltenders. So here's me willing it into existence.
There we go. All right, let's move beyond the CHL and go into the NCAA. We'll briefly talk about, of course, the first projected first overall pick, Gavin McKenna. I got eliminated pretty early on in the regional semifinals. Not only his fault, of course, but there was a tweet that was afterwards saying about his defensive play, -3. And that's not good. For an offensive guy, it's not a good tweet to get out when you're a -3. But Peter, I'll start with you. What did you think about Gavin McKenna? You'd hoped that he would get to the final in the Frozen Four and see what he could do there, but got eliminated pretty early. So what did you think about his performance there?
Yeah, I think the tweet you were mentioning is the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team where, there was a picture this kind of thing where Penn State had a promo for Gavin McKenna, and they totally did a little troll job of themselves. It should probably still be up there. I don't know. Check the Quinnipiac team's Twitter account, but I believe that's what you're referring to as well. But cool. Not a great end to McKenna's draft season. I know that you probably shouldn't look too much into plus minus because it is a very misleading stat no matter what level you're at. But watching the highlights, you could kind of still understand why there's still some skepticism with his play away from the puck, where maybe 2 out of the 3 believe he was on for one of the empty net goals. And, a forward trying to defend in that situation never goes well. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. But the 2 other goals were maybe the effort, the intensity of winning a puck battle maybe wasn't quite there, even though that we started to see that improvement overall in the second half of the season. Wouldn't say it's disappointing, but I think you just wanted to be left wanting more. Just like throughout the whole entire season, you were left wanting more from McKenna, especially in a big time game where throughout the second half, there were big time games and he stepped up and he delivered. And when you're a first overall pick or a projected first overall pick, maybe that expectation is maybe a little too, so what I'm looking for here. Not saying that the pressure was on him a little bit too much, but maybe he just couldn't quite elevate it to that level. And we know how good of a game-breaking performer he can be. He just wasn't at it at that time. Now, is he still going to be the top North American skater all said and done? Absolutely. There's no question about that with his skill set, the playmaking, the deceptiveness, the ability to draw players in. He's phenomenal with that. Is it still enough for him to be first overall? Probably. You shouldn't look over just one game because he has a whole body of work that's behind him, whether it's WHL. Yeah, good first half, but an even better second half. I think that's what stood out the most. So I wouldn't say it's disappointing. I would just say it didn't fully solidify everything, if that kind of makes sense, even though it should. I don't think there's any doubt that he's probably still going to go first overall. That's the talk around it right now, given what he's able to do. But yeah, not disappointing, but I still just wanted a little bit more to solidify that, because it could probably still be going either way between him or Stenberg, but you're probably still looking at McKenna first overall when it's all said and done.
Dayton, what about you? What did you think about McKenna's performance? I get in the playoffs, up until his elimination here. He was also not in the, I don't know. I mean, he was nominated for the Hobie Baker. I finished in the top 10 of finalists, but didn't end up being in the top 3, which is maybe surprising. I don't know, because he had a really good season. But what did you think about McKenna there?
The game in the Frozen Four was disappointing. I would have expected him, with all of the conversation around what he is doing, to have been a game changer, and he was definitively not. In fact, that turnover led to the game-winning goal, I believe, for Minnesota Duluth. Actually another former WHLer, Graydon Seepman, was able to get the puck to his teammate, and McKenna was the one who turned it over. To me, that is somebody I can't trust to change a franchise. That's not somebody who is a person that I can, place on a first line and expect him to make everything better. I don't see that. I see the skill. Don't get me wrong. The kid is amazingly talented. The things he can do when he, especially on the power play, when he has a little bit of that extra space, incredible. When he's with other very talented players, incredible. Like when they're thinking kind of on the same level. But if he's not with those people, he's not as effective. He doesn't have the same impact when his teammates are less effective. He doesn't have that same impact when it's 5-on-5 or he's on the penalty kill. You cannot trust him in the defensive zone still. A lot has been said about, yes, he's getting better. He's improving. Great. He should be. It's not improving fast enough. If I am a general manager and looking with the first overall pick, I want somebody who can come in and change a team. I don't think McKenna can do that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it is true. I mean, there are so many players and the first overall picks in the past where you're looking at, they can control, doesn't matter who they're playing with. You look at the Connor McDavids, Connor Bedard's, they can do it. It doesn't matter who's on their line. They'll do it. You can see it. They're better, obviously, when they got some other threats on their line there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, with the Canucks, if they do get the first overall pick, it's going to be really tough. Like I've said this many times, I've gotten flip-flop between these two guys many times. And I mean, I'd be happy with either one, Stenberg or McKenna. But the thing is, who's going to step in right away? I don't know if either I think Stenberg's probably the one. If you're wanting an impact guy right off the bat, I think Stenberg's probably the one you're going to want. And McKenna might take a bit to kind of come into his own. And I mean, probably going to look back and say he might be the more long-term. I think, Dane, you said this, that he's probably going to be looking back and you're saying, well, he's going to be later on, probably one of the better guys. But, if you want a guy to be really turning your team around quickly, I think Stenberg probably will do it more than McKenna, but you never know. I mean, it's such a thing. I've never been in this position to look at the top picks like this and see and look ahead. But yeah, we'll see how it all goes.
Yeah.
All right.
Before we move on, real quick, not to beleaguer a point or anything, but I remember watching Bedard with Regina, and he was somebody who kind of took control of the game. Even though he had nobody around him. Those Regina teams, they had some guys, but not a lot.
Bedard was carrying that team on his back night in, night out.
Yes. He was almost the sole reason why they took a playoff series against the Saskatoon Blades to 7 games. And then by the 7th game, he was exhausted. And I lose McKenna in the on the ice sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know. it's a really tricky thing. I do think McKenna could end up being kind of like a Mitch Marner, at least in the impact. I know a lot has been said about comparing him to like Nikita Kucherov and Patrick Kane in the way that he plays, but I think his impact is more like a Mitch Marner, where if you pair him with an Austin Matthews, there's no stopping him.
Yeah.
But if you pair him with Jack Eichel, he's good, but Vegas isn't making the playoffs this year.
Yeah. I was about to say, I'm glad you brought up like that comparable aspect of like, Bedard carrying the team on his back. McKenna, there were other players that like stood out because there were a lot of experience on that team. And this is McKenna's first stint in a tougher league. So I think that's the other thing too, where maybe he was up for that challenge and there were going to be some growing pains. But like you said, that clutch factor where if you needed one of your top players to take control of a game and you really needed him to, McKenna really wasn't quite there. And I'm glad you brought up like the whole Mitch Marner, Nikita Kucherov comparison, because if down the line he does reach Nikita Kucherov status, I think that's maybe a little bit of a stretch considering how good Kucherov is right now. Is he going to be that guy that you could trust to take control of a game like Kucherov does? And we've seen sometimes with Mitch Marner, especially from a Maple Leaf perspective in the postseason, where he is not at his best. And when you need him to take control of a game, he kind of backs away. And when that pressure mounts and the intensity mounts, especially in a big time game, he falters. So is he going to fall somewhere in between? Is he going to be closer to one end of the spectrum or the other? I don't know for both players, but if McKenna's in the middle and becomes a little bit more well-rounded and a player that you could rely on, I think that'll be a big difference maker if it does happen years down the line.
Also, Vegas is making the playoffs. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
they're in the Pacific.
I was about to say, the Pacific is kind of like a toss-up at this point right now.
There was a chance where that might not happen.
Yeah. I mean, they still could lose it, I guess, but
it could. Yeah.
It's not very likely right now.
I was just about to say, I digress. Take away the loser point. They're not even a playoff team in the Eastern Conference.
Probably, yeah. 17.
There's so many Eastern teams that could be a playoff team in the West right now.
That's the thing.
There's 91-point teams in the East that are not that would make the playoffs. They would actually be leading the Pacific Division, which is, which is crazy. All right. Well, we'll stick with the NHL because to finish the show, and that's the Calder Trophy. Matthew Schaefer has been amazing. He's been probably, I don't know, he's on verge of breaking Brian Leach's rookie record in goals, which has stood for a long time. So, I mean, this is a question. It's probably going to be a yes. Quickly, let's move on. But Peter, does he have it wrapped up at this point? I mean, there are some other guys that are obviously having great seasons as well, but he's just been phenomenal.
Yeah, I think you got to give it to Schaefer. I think he's kind of wrapped it up at this point, and he tied Brian Leach's record against the Maple Leafs. So, as is tradition. Now let's move on. Yeah, I mean, he kind of like Lane Hudson last year, obviously a little bit more of a dynamic goal scorer and shooter, but like, when we were talking about this discussion with Lane last year, there's that kind of like that unwritten rule where if a defenseman does hit 60 points, should that automatically guarantee him the Calder Trophy? I mean, maybe yes, maybe no, but take away Matthew Schaefer and the Islanders aren't even sniffing or battling for a playoff spot this year. I think that's where you got to decipher how much of an impact he's just having with his team overall. Yes, Demidov is having that impact with Montreal, same with Seneca, but they're already deep enough and have secured that team. I've always thought the Islanders is kind of like that fringe playoff team where maybe they could get in, but I wouldn't surprise me if they do miss the playoffs. And Schaefer is keeping them in there from the back end with his 23 goals, with his 59 points, and even averaging again, you look at the ice time too. He's almost averaging close to 25 minutes per game. Demidov is 15 and Seneca's 17. Then again, you have a little bit more depth and balance on the Ducks and the Canadians. But Schaefer's just an absolute unit. You could throw him out there for like half a game and he won't get tired. Yeah. This is a guy that that can take up our This is sorry, that kind of a little bit of a technical
What happened there?
My mic kind of went off there, but I have already rambled on too much to go back on everything, but I'm just going to end it right there. Yeah, given how important of a player he is to the Islanders, I think he's deserving of the Calder Trophy.
It's crazy because I remember when we were talking about who should go first overall and all that stuff, and saying, well, his injuries and stuff like that. He has 10 goals over for the NHL. He had 10 goals over the 2 OHL seasons. Of course, the second one was cut short by injury. But it's just crazy. He's got way more, and it's in the NHL now, 23 goals. And we were kind of wondering what type of thing would, not playing so much. Well, it's no problem at all. He's one of the, he's not just one of the best. He's not just the best rookie right now. He's one of the best defensemen in the NHL. I mean, he's 59 points. So one more point, and then what do you guarantee the Calder now? The 60. Yeah.
And also, too, no other player has even gotten close to 200 shots. Maybe Seneca's the next closest, but Schaefer does have 209 already. Yeah. So it's not that shots matter, but he puts pucks on that big time.
And it's just his first season in the NHL. So he's got way more to go. Dayton, is there any more to say, really? It's Schaefer, your Calder Trophy winner?
I mean, not a lot. I remember talking in years previous that there is the magic cutoff line, right? It's 50 points.
50, sorry, not 60.
50. It was 50, right?
Yeah. 50, my mistake.
No, that's okay. 60 is even better.
Even better, exactly.
Yeah, I've not to give too much of a spoiler or hint or foreshadowing or whatever, but I've got an article that I'm kind of toying with on what it's going to take for someone to win a Calder Trophy if a defenseman doesn't score 50 points, because there's been, I think, 14 defensemen to win the Calder, and most of them have hit that threshold. And I mean, Hudson hit 66 last year. Zator had 50. Makar had 50. Brian Leach had 71. Gary Suter had 68. Like, we're going back a number of years now. But I don't think anyone else has kind of taken that other step to really dominate, right? Demidov, he's the rookie point leader right now with 61. Beckett Seneca has tied the goal leader with 23, tying, of course, Matthew Schaefer. So, just to speak on how good Schaefer is, Jakub Dobish might be, I think, his strongest competitor. 29 wins, 8 losses. That's one of the more impressive stat lines. There have been a handful of goals. It's very difficult for a goalie to win the Calder, of course. But Steve Mason did it with 33 wins. Ilya Nabokov did it with 32. Ray Croft did it with 29. There is some precedence, but it'll be interesting to see. I guess who ends up second, because there's no other question. Schaefer's got the Calder in the bag.
Yeah,
and if something happens that he doesn't win it, it would be there's so many questions.
Yeah, that's true. He's been phenomenal since his first game, really. And Islanders just got and that's a team that didn't have the best odds to win the first overall pick. So there's some hope, I guess, for other teams. Of course, this is the year that'll happen because the Canucks have the best odds. But we'll see. All right. While you've alluded to it, both of you guys talking about who are the other two finalists. There are actually a lot of rookies that have had great seasons. Dayton, you mentioned a couple of them there already. But who's your other two finalists? Who would you lock down in I guess the runner-up, because they're not going to win?
Yeah, I think Jakub Dobish is my second pick. He's been very good for the Montreal Canadiens. And then third, there's a lot of guys who could go in there. I'll probably go Beckett Seneca. I think he's a little bit more of an edge with the Anaheim Ducks, who haven't been as strong. I think they are in a playoff spot, though, aren't they?
They are in that dogfight
in the Pacific.
Yeah, what's the Pacific?
And the Pacific
or the pillow fight, as Connor McDavid said.
Yeah, I live in the West, but like I've been paying attention to the East because of the Ottawa Senators, and that's been quite the playoff race. And then I look over in the West, and it's like, oh, there's just a mush.
Yeah, of average.
Yeah. So yeah, the Ducks haven't been great. They've got a minus 14 goal differential, but Seneca's got 23 goals. So
yeah,
I think he'd be my third.
Peter, what about you for those other two spots?
Yeah, I probably would have gone Dobish too if it weren't for the early season question marks where it was him and Montembeault kind of struggling a bit. And then it went, Dobish and then Fowler later on in the season. Because there were some games where Dobish maybe wasn't quite himself, but that was early on in the season. I think he is deserving of it, but I'm still going to go with Ivan Demidov and Beckett Seneca. Just how great Demidov has fit in with that top six for the Montreal Canadiens just speaks to their identity with the skill. Obviously, he's one of those like secondary contributors, and he's already hit 60 points already. Same with Seneca already with the Anaheim Ducks. I think those are your other two. But can't also overlook what Jimmy Snuggerud has done, what Ryan Leonard has done, and even Oliver Kapanen too. 22 goals as a rookie for the Canadiens as well. There's maybe Kapanen, maybe a little bit of an outsider, but you have three solid rookies on a team that's basically in second place overall in the Atlantic right now. That to me is very impressive. So it's going to be Demidov and Seneca, but there are a lot of other great candidates where maybe if they weren't there, they would be in the contention.
Yeah, there's a lot of this rookie. Like I say, this rookie class is really strong when you're looking at the other guys. I mean, Schaefer's not in it. Seneca is probably like, why do I have to go against? But Schaefer's in here. He probably will win it. But yeah, and Seneca's really jumped into the NHL and been dominant right off the bat. And it's the guy that kind of maybe was surprised when the Ducks selected him so high, but looking like that was the right pick all along because he's been impressive for the Ducks and another young team that's getting a lot of contributions from their young players. And that's why they're in the position they are to make the playoffs for the first time in a long time. And there's a lot of teams that are ending up. We're going to see some new teams in the playoffs, which is fun. I always seen all these all these the same teams always in it. There's some new blood in there, which is going to be fun to watch as well. Lots of young talent, too, that are leading the way.
Little quick update: Caleb Malhotra has scored his 8th goal of the postseason.
There we go. And add on to the standouts. He's been
added on to the standouts. Yep.
There you go. All right. Well, make sure to check out everything at thehockeybears.com. We got great articles throughout the site, prospects, lots of fun stuff as the playoffs going to get going in the NHL as well. And then, of course, the draft is going to be, we've got bunches of profiles already out there. So take a look at all those that are already up on the site. And then lots more to come as the season continues and as our draft coverage continues. But until our next episode, we will see you next time.